Welcome to Smithtown Report. On today's show, we're going to talk about the Kings Park sewer construction and downtown revitalization project. Suffolk County and the town of Smithtown are thrilled to announce that the highly anticipated sewer line construction in downtown Kings Park has broken ground. The installation of sewers in downtown Kings Park will make way for new or expanding commercial growth like restaurants, cafes, bars, and mixed-use development. Furthermore, as we've historically witnessed in surrounding areas, the project will increase property values within the community.
Well, what the sewers will mean for Kings Park is much greater flexibility in what types of uses can go into some of the buildings, what can happen with the buildings and the properties. Currently, right now, everybody's using cesspools up there, which really restricts how properties can be developed. It also restricts on what types of uses can go in there. For example, there's a lot of interest in putting in restaurants or daycare centers, things like that. If you have a 100-year-old cesspool, the county health department's not going to allow that. One of the reasons why you see the types of businesses that you currently have along Main Street is because county health department's not going to allow expansion or anything that has a more dense sanitary generation on the property. Most people in town know that the town's been updating our comprehensive plan for the first time in nearly 50 years. The draft comp plan does take into account the anticipation of sewers in Kings Park. The proposed zoning and the uses anticipate the installation of sewers. We're hoping that the comp plan is adopted probably in the next 6 months by the town board. It'll dovetail nicely with the sewer project. We anticipate to be completed about the end of 2024. It started with former Governor Andrew Cuomo, but he allocated $20 million each for Smithtown and for Kings Park. That's what really initiated it. Estimated cost of the sewer project is $25 million, so the county's using the $20 million from the state, and then they've kicked in the additional $5 million for the completion of the project. By town standards, it's a massive undertaking. It is a county project, but we have been working hand in hand with the county on this. It involved New York State DOT because Main Street's a state road. We've got Suffolk County DPW. We're working with many, many agencies to get this done. It is a very large, significant project. And it's more than just laying pipe in the ground. It's after that's done, all the businesses are going to need to connect to the pipe. So there's a lot of work that's going to be necessary of the business owners to tap their existing sanitary system into the new pipeline. The environmental benefits are that you no longer have 100+ cesspools basically seeping into our groundwater, which is what we use for drinking water in the town and for the whole county. It will be significant reduction. It'll be now treated at a central plant where it can be properly monitored. This will all tie into the sewer treatment plant that's been existing for over 100 years on St. John Lynn Road. It once served the Kings Park State Hospital, Psychiatric Center. The plant will be upgraded, handle Kings Park sanitary. The plant's already there. I mean, that's been the key focus on this project is we already have this plant that's necessary for this project to occur. St. Catherine, as well as several condominium developments along 25A, are already connected into this plant, as is the Wartburg community and the Country Point in Kings Park. So there are several facilities already around town that are connected into this plant. I think it's going to bring significant changes to the Kings Park community. People are going to be very proud of the changes that eventually will occur. This is a basic thing you need. Small towns all over the country have sewers. Unfortunately, it took this long for it to be done. But with this, I think you're going to see nice improvements all over the community.
Nitrogen is the most significant pollutant to surface water. Wastewater and fertilizer are the largest contributors to nitrogen into our groundwater system. 90% of the town overall is served by on-site cesspool and septic systems. High-density commercial and residential areas are the largest polluters. Currently, our community operates, for the most part, on outdated and environmentally adverse cesspools. The installation of sewers in downtown Kings Park will result in a minimum of a 70% reduction in nitrogen to the Nissaquag River.
Vision Long Island is a regional planning organization that does outreach to communities throughout Long Island to try and gather community support for different kinds of projects and community revitalization. The Kings Park Chamber of Commerce and Kings Park Civic Association reached out to Vision Long Island a number of years ago to try and get their support in developing an action plan for downtown revitalization in Kings Park. When Vision Long Island, in coordination with the Chamber of Commerce and the Civic Association, all came together, they had a huge community workshop and groups come together. One of the outcomes of that was the need for sewers. So they developed an action plan, and one of the main action items was installing sewers throughout the downtown. Because without sewers, it's not possible to grow the downtown. All of the individual sites are currently served by individual on-site septic systems. We're really excited that it's finally underway, that the shovels are going in the ground and pump station construction has started. We expect that within the next year and a half, it'll be fully sewered.
The Kings Park Business District includes approximately 65 acres along 0.75 miles of New York State Route 25A. Gravity sewers will be installed to replace the existing on-site sanitary systems, with the exception of 2 properties which require low-pressure sewers. All wastewater collected from the sewers will discharge to a new municipal pump station and be conveyed to the sewer treatment plant via force main. The sewer system will be divided into 3 service areas based on the type of sewer and the location within the business district. How do I connect to the new sewer system? You will want to confirm that your commercial property is located within the sewer expansion map. You can email kingsparksewers@suffolkcountynY.gov for information and confirmation. Property owners are responsible for arranging the physical connection of your building to the county sewer main. Additionally, you will be responsible for properly abandoning the existing current on-site sanitary system. A list of Suffolk County DPW approved sewer contractors is available to you online at kpdowntown.com.
You know, we've been working on this project for the past several years. It feels great to see it finally reaching fruition and for it to break ground. Property owners in the Kings Park Business District have been waiting for decades for sewers. Obtaining a $20 million grant to pay for the construction without burdening property owners was a significant milestone that occurred in 2017. But it's really taken us 5 years to bring the project over the finish line. It feels very, very satisfying, and we're really, really happy about the strong working relationship between Suffolk County and the town of Smithtown on sewer projects. It's an example of the type of working partnership we'd like to bring to every town throughout this county. The quality of life in Smithtown is very, very unique. It's a very, very special place. But what we've seen over the past couple of decades is that as we see more examples of big box stores, suburban sprawl, these downtown business districts that traditionally and historically had been the source of all commerce for our communities have weakened. People are no longer shopping, for example, for groceries and clothing in many of our downtowns, and so they've had to evolve and adapt. Sewering gives the property owners much more flexibility. Sanitary code requirements are put in place to protect both the environment and public health, and they're restricting what you can do on a property if you don't have sewers. You can't generate tens of thousands of gallons of sewage in an area where you don't have infrastructure to treat it. And what that means to a property owner is that they cannot, as of right, add apartments to the second floor of their commercial building. They cannot, as of right, have a restaurant with 20 or 30 tables. It constrains the economic value of their property, but once connected to sewers, They have all sorts of flexibility regarding the future use of their property. Drives up property values, allows for expanded uses in these downtown business districts, and will help us to fulfill the vision that the community has for the future of Kings Park, a walkable community where people will want to visit to take advantage of restaurants, where people will live on the second floor and third floor of commercial buildings. All sorts of great things can happen in Kings Park because of the sewer project. Property owners who have restaurants and other wet uses find that they're paying thousands of dollars every year to maintain those systems, to pump them and empty them when they get full of wastewater, isn't dissipating into the environment. Once you're connected to sewers, all of that is in the past. You no longer have to think about either pumping your system or maintaining your system. Moving forward, you'll be connected to the sewer system. Makes life much simpler for a commercial property owner to be connected to a sewer system. They no longer have to worry about maintaining or emptying a septic system or replacing the septic system if it should reach the end of its useful life and need to be replaced. Well, under the Suffolk County Sanitary Code, once you're connected to the sewer, you're required to what they call abandon your system. And what that means is that you need to pump it to remove all of the liquid from the system and then fill it with sand or clean soil. So the abandonment of an individual system could cost several $1,000s, $2,500 or $3,000, depending upon the size of the system. If you have 4 rings in the ground, for example, it will cost a certain amount. If you have 8 rings, it will cost significantly more because the amount of liquid that you need to pump and the amount of fill that you need to install in the emptied rings once they've been pumped will be greater. So it's going to depend on each individual property. It's another expense, but it's an investment because the investment in connecting in the sewer system is going to dramatically increase the value of your property from the minute you are connected. It's going to provide all sorts of greater flexibility for the future use of the property. It's going to make it more attractive for purchasers should you want to sell your property. If you're going to stay put and are interested in business opportunities, once you're connected to sewers, you can do all sorts of things with your property that you were not able to do until you got connected to sewers. People are fond of using the phrase win-win. Using the phrase win-win doesn't go far enough to explain just how great the benefit is to a property owner of connecting to the sewers. The future of your property is much brighter. The value is much greater from the minute you're connected. Whether you're staying put or selling it, you win once you're connected to sewers.
Suffolk County will oversee the execution of the sewer expansion construction using $20 million in grant funds from New York State Transformative Investment Program, TIP. Property owners will only be responsible for the cost of septic system abandonment, an annual user fee, and an ad valorem which is based on the property's standardized assessed value.
The environmental hazards of old septic systems are the waste that goes into those systems is untreated. So untreated waste is soaking out into the ground, then eventually into our groundwater, our rivers, and our Long Island Sound, causing nitrogen pollution. That can cause algae blooms, loss of oxygen for fish, and other environmental hazards. In the town of Smithtown, the Nessequa River is our main watershed. So most of our community drains toward the Nessequa River. Whether we're in Smithtown, Kings Park, some parts of Nesconset, eventually gets to the river. So we have to be very careful of how we treat all of our sanitary waste, all of our septic systems at our houses, because eventually it gets to the river and can cause degradation of the water quality for the Nessequa River. Septic systems have a lifespan, and depending on whether that's a business or your residence and the type of waste and the amount of waste you put into it depends on how long it can last. Also, the soil conditions of your property. Different parts of the town have different soil conditions. Those all affect how long the system will last. Typically, systems last between 15 and 30 years. They take some maintenance. Every few years, you should have the solids pumped out, and that way none of the solids get into the second tank, the leaching pool tank, and that really protects both your system and the environment. When you connect a business or a house to a sewage treatment plant, like we are going to be doing in Kings Park, it will remove about 80% of the nitrogen pollution that would be getting into the ground.
Being a business owner in Kings Park, sewers give you a lot more opportunity in terms of what you're going to do. If you have a restaurant, you can provide more seating. If you have a use or a building that doesn't currently have a tenant that would be desirable in the current environment, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, things that are intense water users, those are the types of uses that we can now bring into our downtown, which under the previous health department regulations we couldn't. This is a game changer for downtown Kings Park. What happens is Long Island itself is under-centered, which means when you go out for dinner with your wife or your friends, typically you'll go to places like Huntington and Northport and Port Jeff or Babylon, because those are the places that have enough of the draw for you to go there. There's enough restaurants, more of an experience you're looking forward to. Kings Park can now become that. For future generations, this does a whole lot, because now we will start to grow into the type of community that Gen Xers and millennials seem to gravitate towards. There's been a lot of talk about brain drain on Long Island, that the younger generation is leaving. And it isn't always about taxes or money. Sometimes it's about where they want to be. And places like what we're hoping to create are what they are looking for. If you're the average homeowner here in Kings Park or Smithtown, when you do this to a downtown, it helps to increase your property value, which obviously gives your future generations something to look forward to as well. Will this spark any kind of growth? The way that these types of projects start and we build off of them, you start with housing. You know, if you add a component that does not exist in your current downtown, which is some multifamily housing that gives a housing opportunity that doesn't currently exist, it puts people in the downtown. And in turn, those people spend about 30% of their yearly income locally. Just do the numbers. If the average income, say it's higher than that in Smithtown, but if the average income is $100,000 and you spend 30% of that locally, that's $30,000 per person. So even 100 apartments adds $3 million to the local economy every single year, which in turn gives that business owner the ability to invest in their business, gives that property owner the ability to invest in the facade of the building to fix it up. So it kind of starts the ball rolling when you start with those types of projects. The difference between a wet use and a dry use, other than the obvious, the health department looks at types of uses in terms of how much water they import to that zone every single day. A card store obviously brings in less usage than a restaurant. So in terms of how they regulate it, if you have a card store, you're allowed a bigger footprint, because obviously you don't use as much water, so you're not going to have as much impact on the water that's in the ground. Restaurants, because people come there and they're cooking, there's dishwashing, they calculate it on a per seat basis. So let's say a 10-seat restaurant, you use 20 to 30 gallons per seat per day. The health department regulates how many seats there can be. In 1981, they passed legislation that did not allow any growth in our downtowns unless you had sewers. This gives us the ability to grow and to put restaurants and to put uses that are going to be more desirable and more in keeping with what you see in a downtown these days. Currently, we have an application before the town for a 50-unit boutique apartment, multi-unit building. What's going to happen over time, there's not a huge appetite for high density in downtown Kings Park. In the plan that Kings Park community had come up with, I believe there was about 300 to 400 units that would be spread throughout the downtown, in keeping with about what the people want. They don't want too much new housing. They don't want it to impact the school district. I personally believe that there isn't enough property currently to build much more than that, if at all. But I think that would be enough to spark a revitalization in downtown Kings Park. Sewers will definitely give the ability for existing property owners to add another floor with apartments, or subdivide if they have a second floor that's currently storage or office, and turn that into apartments, which one of the nice things about downtown is that they kind of have the formula how these things grow, and nothing brings people to downtown like other people. And once you see that vibrancy, once you see the people in downtown going to restaurants, sitting on the corner, hanging out in the park, it brings more people downtown, and that certainly helps with the overall aesthetic. It helps with the overall feeling when you do go to downtown. Kings Park in 5 to 10 years, I don't see a huge amount of growth as much as I see it really getting turned around. I think people of Kings Park like downtown Kings Park the way it is. They just want to see it better. And we certainly are going to see that, I think, sooner rather than later, definitely within 5 years. The impact on the businesses and the residents, it's going to be painful because obviously you do any major project like that, there's going to be impact. One of the things that the town of Smithtown is doing that I think is kind of forward thinking is we are going to be working with the existing property owners and business owners to coordinate when and where those impacts occur. So we have a map with how the phases are going to go. The good news is the project is only slated to take about 1.5 years. As those phases come in, we're going to be interacting with the community so that we can determine, all right, this is when we're going to be in this location. Let's talk to those property owners. Let's talk to those business owners. Make sure they know what the impacts are, when they're going to be, and try to work around things that may be important to them. And the other nice thing is that all of these business owners are going to be able to benefit after the fact. Does the average person get taxed for the sewers? And the answer to that's no. The sewer tax only hits the businesses, actually the property owners that exist within the sewer district. And the sewer district is just downtown Kings Park. It's very limited unless you were notified and voted in the referendum, which most people were not. You're not in the district. The district will only hit the businesses and properties. That's a benefit to the residents of Smithtown and Kings Park. I think this winds up being a win-win for Smithtown and the residents of Smithtown for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is, one, it's an economic boom for the town. It will make it so our downtown can thrive. When your downtown thrives, your homes become more desirable, so the average home will increase in value, and that's certainly a benefit to everyone that lives within that area. And environmental impact, you can't even calculate what that value is, because if we ruin the aquifer that's directly below our feet, we don't have anything to drink. For us to save the drinking water for our children and for us to kind of set a table for the future of our community, it's a win for everyone.